Hey guys, welcome back to A Thrifted Home. I hope you enjoyed last week's video. Today we're going to be talking about my son's 3rd grade thrifted curriculum. I want to go a little bit more in depth into how we systematize things and how we do things in our daily homeschool rhythm. And so if you are interested in hearing about that, just go ahead and stick around and we will talk all about it. As we discussed last time, there's a whole world to homeschooling, and it's not my goal to give any one of you a step-by-step guide as to what to do for your kids or in your home. I love watching videos about how-tos, what people are using for their own curriculum and what works for their kiddos. I think that that's really important to look at what other people are doing. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I also think that homeschool is super flexible. It can be really catered to what your needs are, what your finances are, and just how your kids operate or how you operate as a mom, what your planning schedule looks like. It's kind of like mothering in general or homemaking. Everybody's gonna do it a little bit differently. And I definitely don't think that there's a one-size-fits-all interpretation to homeschooling and how that could work for your family and for your kids. That being said, I do think that there are many methods that could work for many different people. I would classify myself as a bit more of an eclectic homeschooler. I don't follow any one particular style or method. I don't buy one all-in-one curriculum for any of my kids. I like to pick and choose. I like to base things off of what makes most practical sense in a list of categories. Number one on that list would be practicality and functionality. Is this a practical curriculum for my child? Is this a practical curriculum for our family, for the stage of life that we're in? Right now, I've got an 18-month-old. I cannot be doing all the bells and whistles. I have to fit things around schedules and nap times and food. You know, there's a lot that goes into having multiple different ages of children in school that need your help and need your attention. And number two, finances. How much is this going to cost me in the end? And is it something that I'm going to see a return on my investment on? If I'm going to spend money on something, is that a resource that I can have for all of my children? And if it's not, is it a valuable thing to be spending that amount of money on in any given time? I would say my third factor when picking curriculum, does it align with my values? Does it align with what I want for my children? Is it just simply ticking a box in terms of their educational goal? Or is it a kill two birds with one stone kind of a thing? Can I work on your vocabulary while also working on your character and your heart and who you are as a person? That's a big win for me, if I'm being honest. I don't think that homeschooling is a science. I think it's more of an art. And if you can find what works for you, and that might change as the time goes on and as your kids develop, and spoiler alert, that's really normal and it's also okay. As it is an art, there's lots of different models, there's different interpretations, there are different things that work for different people. And as we see the many beautiful modes of artistic design and creativity, there's really no one right or wrong way to do art or to be an artist. And that's the same thing with homeschooling. There is no one right path or list of materials to choose that would make it so that your children have XYZ outcome. This goes far deeper than books that your kids read, curriculum that you choose for them. This is a lot more about their heart and their character development over time. That's something that you don't really see a lot of in a public school model. And it's not shaming anybody who sends their children to public school. I'm saying that what you can do inside your home is far more valuable to your child's overall development and personality than it is to just assume that education is only about a book they're reading or a curriculum you choose. So all that being said, if you're interested in seeing my 3rd grade curriculum picks this year for my son, let's get into it. All right, so very similar to my daughter, my son has just a stack of books right here. That is the bulk of his curriculum, or at least for his independent work. And this is his checklist. Very similar to my daughter's. It just kind of goes down the list of what he has to do in a given week. This year for math, we are doing teaching textbooks. I did also go over that in last week's video with my daughter. So I won't be talking about any math this week. And I also will not be covering history and science because we do that in our co-op. And yeah, that's his checklist. He also has a nature journal. This is exactly like my daughter's. My mom bought these for my kids, and they will come in handy when we do our nature study this fall with our co-op. So these are really cute, just off of Amazon. I think they were reasonably priced, a few dollars. So moving on, we have a vocabulary workshop book. This is Sadlier Vocabulary. These are wonderful. I went in more detail about these books last week when I talked about my daughter's vocabulary book. I really went over all of the reasons why I really liked this comprehensive vocabulary study. I just think that they do a really great job. They give your kids a lot of exposure to some really good stories. Like this one has a lot of fables. So this is an Aesop fable. And it is incorporating real life words. They break them into words that make sense in everyday life. And vocabulary that can build upon itself. So currently he is on Unit 2, I believe. This is moving into Unit 3, but you can clearly see here this book came with a few pages written in. I did buy these books from Thrift Books, and so, you know, I'm saving a good amount of money when I do that, and I don't mind if I have to go in and erase a couple things here and there because it is slightly used. That is more than fine with me. It is a much more affordable resource in the end when I buy it that way. And yeah, I don't really care. Moving on, he has this little mini booklet. This is actually another Sarah Janice Brown book. I did talk about her a lot when I was going through my daughter's curriculum. And so here's her company. It's just the Thinking Tree Publishing Company. You can go to funschoolingbooks.com. If you want to learn more about her. This book is a creative comic book, which I thought that he would just love. He is super into comics right now. And yeah, that just makes him really happy. So it also goes into a little bit of cursive and spelling. He does have a cursive book over here because he will be learning cursive. This book I just got off of Amazon, super cheap, maybe $6 to $8. But it just kind of goes through the basics of cursive. We've done Handwriting Without Tears before, and I really actually love those books. For him, I wanted to go through with something that had a little bit more practice pages so that he could really get good exposure. So he will be learning cursive this year. But this cursive and spelling journal just kind of takes him into a really fun and creative and enjoyable way to do those activities. He can make a lot of comics. It's just a really fun and creative way to get kids engaged in what they're learning and what they're doing. So that is this for him. I'm really excited about these books. I have a feeling that we will be using them for many, many years to come. And just like my daughter had, he has grade 3 versions of grammar and reading comprehension. I won't go super in-depth into these. I did a lot of talking about them with my daughter's 5th grade curriculum. If you are interested in learning sort of why I picked these books, you can go back and watch that video. I will just reiterate here, if you don't do anything else, I would say reading comprehension is a must. Last year we used Spectrum reading comprehension, and I really actually loved those. There were a lot more pages to choose from in those books. But this year, I just wanted something really small. I only wanted him to be doing it once a week. Last year on his checklist, for him and my daughter, I think I had them doing reading comprehension twice a week, which is totally fine. But this year, he will also be doing a literature log alongside my daughter, and so I feel like they're getting plenty of reading exposure. Each book is covered once a week, and honestly, that is good enough for me. It ticks off boxes. It helps them stay sharp on their language arts skills. Similar to my daughter, this year he has reading comprehension. Now, I didn't do the spiral bound notebook for him the way that I did for my daughter Ari. This was just a notebook that I had lying around, and so that's part of the reason why we're using it. I'm just using up the things that I currently have, but also because he's only in 3rd grade and his handwriting is still being developed, I wanted to just give him something that wasn't quite as precious. Next year, he will have the Mead spiral bound notebook, the 5-star, same as my daughter has this year, and I think that that will be a little bit more of a keepsake for him. Currently, he is reading Redwall, which is just a really fun, cute story. It's a classic book, so I think he'll love that. Now, moving on to some copy work. I end my copy work at about after grade 3. Copy work is something that really is incredibly important. It helps them to develop their handwriting, their spelling, their spacing, punctuation. This is obviously wonderful. It's a 2-in-1, so they're getting a lot of reading exposure. I mean, my son is phenomenal at reading. He has been since 1st grade. It's just, he was one of those kids that picked it up really easily, and I'm super grateful for that. But he gets a good amount of reading in every day, and then he needs to come over here, trace the moral of the story, and then copy the moral of the story. Each day he's also working on his writing his first and last name. So that's, important to me. And you can never go wrong with a good book of fables, especially Aesop's fables. They're classics. And yeah, this book is just really well put together. This I also got on Amazon. It's got a lot of pages in here, and they're not numbered, so I'm not entirely sure how many, but that's a pretty thick book. He'll be working through this all year. And I also have a scripture workbook that is also copy work. So he does this once a week, and he does this once a week. This is another Daily Grace Co. book that I got. My daughter is doing a scripture memory study, but he's just doing a basic scripture copy work study. I really like these because they go through specific character development issues. So we have virtue, we have initiative, we have discernment, we have thankfulness, obedience, we have boldness, wisdom, and so on. These books are just really beautifully and really well done. They're really sturdy. They're actually very well made, and so these will last in order to be keepsakes. But they also give great writing and spelling exposure. And these kinds of things I love incorporating into my school day with, particularly with my younger elementary students. Now, after 3rd grade, I will move away from the copy work, and they will be required to do more of independent literature studies. So they will still be writing, and they will still be using both oral and written narration in a day, but copy work at that point is less and less needed. It's really not as necessary as it is for the younger grades. So I would say especially kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, those are the bulk of the years that I have my kiddos doing copy work, and it is really incredibly beneficial. It covers all of the boxes. It covers their handwriting, it covers spelling, it covers reading, it covers comprehension, and so there are just a lot of reasons why I incorporate copy work into my younger kiddos' day. As you may or may not be able to hear, my baby just woke up from her nap, so we're gonna wrap this video up real quick. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for being here with me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, a thumbs up, subscribe, stick around for more. We'll be talking about 1st grade curriculum picks next, and we'll see you then. Bye guys.